Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Vibe Show. I'm your host, Pinky Lumba, and today I have a very special guest with me, Kyle Mitchell. Kyle Mitchell is a real estate entrepreneur and the best-selling author of The Best in Class. Kyle focuses on multifamily syndication and currently has 107 million assets under management. Welcome, Kyle. I'm so excited to have you here today with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here as well.
So I'm going to start with my favorite question that I ask everybody. How do you see yourself at the present moment, professionally and at the personal level?
Yeah, I think I'm someone that has benefited from the last couple of years of getting out of my comfort zone and getting into the real estate game, although someone that has high ambitions and still has a lot of goals to go and hit over the next 5 years, personally and professionally. But I'd say I'm in a good spot, but would love to be a little bit further along.
Nice. So share with me your background. How did you become who you are today?
Yeah, so my background, I was born and raised in Southern California. Did not come from a lot of money. But my parents, did what they had to do, kind of worked as much as they could to send me to decent schools in Southern California. But I grew up playing golf, and just out of high school, I did not go to college. I hopped right into playing golf professionally for a couple years. And during the summers, I had a summer job at a golf course, and then decided to stop playing golf and got into the golf business. And one thing led to another. I kept getting promoted year after year. And by age 21, I was a general manager for a golf management company. And I was in management and operations for about 16 years up until about 2017, when I found real estate, multifamily real estate. And then I left my job to become full-time in the multifamily syndication space. So I was investing in real estate since 2010. I started out with some single family homes, doing that on the side. But I didn't really look to make a change in my career until about 2015, when I kind of got burnt out on the golf industry, found multifamily 2 years later. So it was a 2-year search kind of for what I wanted to do next. And the rest is history.
Great. So when you were in the golf business, didn't you, think about buying this big golf courses or maybe invest there versus investing in multifamily?
Yeah, good question. In 2015, when I was kind of looking at what my next step in my life was going to be, we did look at owning and operating golf courses. However, I just do not like that business model. It's a tough industry, golf, and it's, hospitality for sure. And the margins are low, and it's just not as, I would say, conservative as an investment as I was looking for.
Oh, because the reason I asked you this question is because if you're in the golf industry, because all the high-end people mostly come to the golf courses, right? All the bigger deals, or I would say more like the stronger relationships are built on the golf course. But of course, when you're at the other end, when you're playing golf and making those relationships. So on those ground, I was thinking, what if you have taken that route? Would that help you with this multifamily or the commercial real estate investment?
Yeah, I don't know if it would have helped us to be in the golf industry further, but I came from the public sector, where it's I would liken it from the difference between Class A and Class C apartments. The public sector has more workforce housing type of people coming in there. It's definitely not high net worth individuals. And then you have the private golf clubs, which are more Class A properties, where you have more high net worth individuals and higher income earners. So I was from more the public side, where there wasn't a lot of capital.
Oh, great. So let's talk about your first deal when you first got into multifamily. So was your first deal a syndication deal, or is it a joint venture?
Yeah, we did a syndication deal, and we could have definitely done a joint venture. It was a smaller 42-unit property back then. It was a $1.6 million purchase. So definitely could have been done with our own money and a couple other partners. But I knew coming into this space that I wanted to syndicate my deals. And so the first deal was not about making money for myself. It was performing for my investors and then learning the process A to Z on a smaller property that I felt comfortable with. So we ran it as a syndication so that we could learn the process A to Z so that we'd be ready and prepared for the next one, which we knew would be a larger one.
So can you share some of your learnings from your first deal?
Yes. The first deal does not necessarily mean any indication of future, not performance. Well, I guess performance. That deal, we've since sold it, was a gem. It went perfectly. There was no ups or downs. It was all ups. And so I kind of got spoiled on that deal where I thought, oh, well, this is really easy, and real estate investing, especially in apartments, you're buying a business, right? And so it's not that easy. There's ups and downs. There's challenges along the way that you learn from that. So that was number one. The biggest thing I learned was really in the closing process, making sure that you have a great relationship with your lender and you have your partners lined up in advance. Originally, we wanted to do it just my wife and I, and we had to bring on a partner late. We ended up getting it done, but it definitely made things a little bit more challenging. And then we went with a loan broker at the time. Unfortunately, they just weren't a trustworthy loan broker. We felt like we were being taken advantage of, so we had to jump ship from them about 30 days before close, and that was a tight one as well. So really forming relationships before you need them is important in this industry.
Yeah, you said it very well, because relationship is the name of the game here. And the other thing is, everybody says that your network is your net worth, because the bigger your network is, it's going to be easy to raise capital, easy to find partners. So what was the experience like first time when you're looking for the partners beside your wife?
Yeah, when we first got started, the biggest thing we did, we still had our full-time jobs and we were basically working nights and weekends on our multifamily business. Now we're full-time into this, but we just tried to separate ourselves by doing things other people weren't doing, right? Which was after a long day of work, I used to drive an hour and a half each way to work and be there 9-10 hours a day. And after that, we would go to a meetup. And so tried to hit a meetup 1 or 2 times a week. And then on the weekends, work on, building relationships with investors, meeting with investors, building out our social network and all that kind of stuff. So that's how we got started. It was just a lot of grinding after our W-2 jobs.
So you were doing everything with the W-2 job. So when did you decide that you want to be 100% in real estate? Did you ever do that, or still keeping your W-2 job?
Yeah, no, 11 months after I found real estate, I made sure I educated myself. And I made sure that I had everything kind of lined up from a financial standpoint. And then I left 11 months after my job. I went and did it full time. My wife kept her job for about 1.5 years. So she was the one supporting us while I was pursuing kind of building out our company. And then from there, she was able to leave her job as well.
So did you work with some mentor, or you did it on your own?
We did have a mentorship program. So we went through the Michael Blanc program. First we started with just his online course, and then we did some one-on-one coaching as well. So I think mentorship in this industry is crucial and critical and kind of a non-negotiable, in my opinion, whether you have a job from the institutional world and come up in that kind of environment. But if you're kind of doing this from the start, graduating from single family to multifamily is one thing, but we do multifamily syndication. So we invest other people's money. And when you are responsible for other people's money, you better have people on your team that know what they're doing, right? They need to be educated. You can't just be testing this out on other people's money. So even on our first deal, we brought in partners that had experience, which was good. But there needs to be an educational piece, whether it's from a mentorship, internship, joining a team, or getting a job in the industry. It's critical because you're in charge of other people's money.
Yeah, you said it very well. So what do you should look for in a mentor, in a mentorship program, or in a mentor? What exactly you're looking for?
Yep. So for me, looking for someone that has already done what I want to be doing at a higher level, and then someone who's still doing it if you can. I think, even in the corporate world, in the golf business, you had people who used to be general managers, but then moved up the corporate ladder. And 10 years later, they're so far disconnected from what's really happening in the field that they're not very good mentors because they don't understand, the game that's currently being played. And so having someone that is in the field and in the trenches with you and actually doing what you want to be doing, I think is really important. If they're 10, 15 years removed from that, the market shifts so quickly, the game has changed so much that you're going to be at a disadvantage and maybe getting some bad advice.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. You said it very well. Because my question was, when you're looking for a mentor, so their mentor might be at a very higher level than you too. Like you're starting right here at the bottom, a mentor is top there, and then mentors kind of look down, and then there's a huge gap. So once you're joining this mentorship program, you need to understand the gap. Like you're starting here and what you're exactly looking for and what you need the mentorship for, because mentor has multiple mentees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would you figure out who's the right mentor for you?
I interviewed probably 4 or 5 different groups, and I just went with my gut. I talked to a lot of different groups, and they all had about the same thing to say, right? I think a lot of the programs out there are going to teach you the basics of multifamily very similarly, but really you want one that connects with you. And for me, it was, the Michael Blanc program. I liked what he had to say. And I liked the route that he was on, and I just trusted my gut that I was going to get the most attention out of it. But you really have to take a look at what your goals are and know a little bit about multifamily itself so you can understand where you think you're going to fit in, and then choose a mentorship program accordingly, right? So there's some that are very location specific, and then there's other ones that are nationwide, and which one fits your cause better. So I don't know that there's one out there that stands above the rest, but really you need to find one and interview multiple people to find the one that fits best for you.
And also it depends upon you too, right? After not just enrolling in a mentorship program is gonna help you achieve your dreams or achieve your goals. You got to take an action too. So you just didn't only join the Michael Blank's program, you took massive action too. So can you talk about that too?
Yeah, I would say, only 5 or 10% of people will end up making it who join those mentorship programs, because just like as you run an apartment, the third-party property management company is not the one that's going to fully execute your business plan. You need to have someone there on your team that's going to execute it. And so same with mentorship. You can join these mentorship programs, but if you're not going to do anything with that, then you're not going to go anywhere. But they're a great platform to surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who are doing other things, to educate yourself. But the biggest step is to take action and to get out there and start putting in the work. And you have to do it over a consistent basis. We didn't find our first deal for 18 months. And if we would have started in a market like it is today, it could take 2 years to find your first deal, 3 years, 300 deals. And a lot of people don't have that grit and determination in them. And, it's something that will pay off, but you have to put in the time, energy, and understand that this is not get rich quick overnight. It's, building out your life and your plan over the long term.
Yeah, you said it very well. Grit is very important and you gotta be persistent with your actions. Regarding your first deal, you said it took you 18 months to find the right deal. So what actions did you take, or what exactly was the process like?
Yeah, so we were pursuing our deals even while still working our full-time job. So what we would do is once a month, we would make a trip out to our market and spend some time out there. So my wife and I, we used to wake up at 2 a.m, and then we would drive to Phoenix and Tucson, get there at 8 or 9 in the morning. And then we would meet with property management companies, brokers, tour properties, whatever we could do, and then drive back that night and not get home till midnight or 1 the next morning, and then go to work the next day. So what we were doing is things that other people would not do to get your first deal. And so on one of those drives, a broker called me and said, "Hey, I have a new listing. You'd be the first to see it. Do you want to see it?" So I got to spend an hour at the property. Then we were with our property management company. So we toured the comps together that day, and we were able to put an offer in ahead of the time for the call for offers. So right place at the right time for sure. But if we weren't driving 7 or 8 hours to Tucson in the middle of the night, we wouldn't have been in the position to see that property and possibly, not have gotten that property. So it's really just getting out of your comfort zone and doing things that other people are not willing to do.
So initially you worked really, really hard to get your deal. And plus that, not just getting that deal, you built strong relationship too with multiple brokers out there when you're going into the market. So how's the journey now? Is it like smoother, much easier compared to where you started?
No. I wish I could say yes. I mean, in some aspects, yes, it is. I mean, we can raise a lot more capital than when we got started. We have brokers bringing us deals instead of searching them out. We have a lot more off-market deals, a lot more deal flow. So yes, things are better and smoother, but at the same time, we're a growing company and we want to continue to grow. So we're not the group that's only going to do one deal a year. We're also not the group that's going to do 12 deals a year, but we want to consistently do 6 to 8 deals a year and continue to grow. And we're going through hiring processes now and building out our team. So right now we're very busy building out our company, and so things evolve. And so certain things get easier, but then you take on new challenges, right? And those new challenges are good things because you're learning and growing. But that never ends, essentially, if you want to continue to grow. So I don't anticipate it getting any easier. I think just this business in general and being an entrepreneur and a real estate investor there's always challenge in it, but I think that's what makes it exciting.
That's true, because challenge is an opportunity, right?
Exactly.
So, which is good. And if you see the challenge as an opportunity, that's the way to scale. That's the way to grow. So I'm going to ask you about your first raise, since we talked about the first deal, making relationship with the brokers. So how was the first raise like? Did you have already the investor base, or what efforts did you take there?
Yeah, so we had to raise $1 million, and I told you I brought in partners. My wife and I raised 900,000 of that $1 million, and then basically the other partners brought in their own capital to kind of finish that up. But so I think we did pretty well, but I had never raised money before, and boy, is it different than investing in real estate or apartments, right? They're two really different businesses, essentially, or different parts of the business. And so the good thing is that it took us 18 months to find our first deal. So during that 18 months, we were building our investor database. So even 3 months into finding multifamily, my wife and I started a meetup right off the bat. We started a newsletter, then we started a podcast about 6 months later. And then, it kind of led to things like the book and a conference and things like that, but slowly grew those types of platforms so people saw what we were doing. And by the time that we had to raise for our first deal, we had interested investors. It wasn't a slam dunk. It was one of the hardest things I had to go through. And I always say that when you raise capital, you get to peek behind the curtains of people's lives, right? It doesn't mean that when they say no, that they don't want to invest with you, but they may be going on vacation, having a baby, refinancing their home, invested in 4 other deals, whatever it may be. Life happens. And so, we learned a lot on that first capital raise.
So you gotta be patient and persistent, right?
Patient, persistent, and start earlier than you think. With raising capital, you should always be raising capital. It should never stop. You should always be meeting people, and always building your investor database and your list, because you don't want to get a deal and then say, oh, okay, let me go find these investors, right? It's too late at that point. You want to have a following. Investors are going to invest in people they know, like, and trust. And you can't build that over the course of a couple of weeks. No, liking and trusting happens over months, years, even decades.
That's good. So you said earlier that you created the platform for yourself. Well, what exactly did you do, or what efforts did you take to brand yourself in a certain way?
Yeah, so, when we first got started, a lot of the people back then were coaching on having an educational platform, some type of platform, and that's what we did. And it worked out well for us, and I would do it again. But we started small with a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. And then once we got comfortable with that, we added one thing and then another thing and another thing, but we didn't add 5 things at once. So first it was a newsletter, then it was the meetup, then it was the podcast. And the great part about podcasting is you can also do video on Zoom. So we started a YouTube channel at the same time. We would do blogs on LinkedIn and posting. And then we started a second podcast. Then I wrote a book. And then now we do conferences, right? So it's kind of evolved over time. And now the conferences are a great way for us to meet investors and get our name out there and rebranding. The other thing I did right away was also build a professional website, right? So when people found our meetup, they went and looked us up, we would be there on the website and have everything built out. So, this is a business, real estate investing, you're buying apartments. Every time you buy an apartment, you're buying a new business. And so you need to treat your company like a business and not like a kind of a mom and pop on the side. I think you need to do it the right way if you want to be able to scale.
That's true. I agree with you 100% because you need to have all the tools and tricks in your toolbox, I would say, because not necessarily you can do everything. So you need to have the right team
Yeah.
to scale if you wanted to scale in this business. So the other question that I wanted to ask you is, how's your journey been like so far?
Yeah, it's had its ups and downs and challenges. I would say that I am a completely different person than I was 4 years ago. I'm blessed because of that, and I'm grateful for that. This industry has opened my eyes to many things, and it has also allowed me to meet people that just are amazing people, in our lives now. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in this industry. I love this industry, but it's not without its challenges for sure. I think a lot of people talk about getting into real estate investing so they can escape the rat race. But if you're not careful, you can actually create a different type of rat race for yourself, because this can be a job as well, depending on what your goals are. So any advice I would give is just make sure you always keep what your goals are front of mind and make sure your actions actually reflect those goals. Because a lot of times you just go, and you actually lose sight of what your actual goal was. And so that's one thing that I've definitely learned and trying to do better on.
That's good. And I earlier you mentioned about the conference, when you branded yourself and then you started doing conferences now. And I do see a lot of people do that after some time they start doing conferences because they wanted to bring the education or the knowledge to the people. They're trying to mitigate the gap, bring the knowledge to the investors and investors who have the money because they will figure out where they can place their money or how they can increase their money. How did you come up with this idea about sharing the knowledge in a conference or doing conference at a larger scale? Do you guys do in person or online?
In the past, we've done online because of COVID, but we are having our first national conference in June this year. So it'll be our first live event. The idea is not something that I made up, of course. Everybody, a lot of people do conferences. I'm a big Tony Robbins person, and he says to model after others, right? There's no reason to recreate the wheel. So I just look at what other people are doing that are a level 2, 10 levels above me. And I try and get out of my comfort zone a couple times a year. And typically, if you just look at what they're doing, they kind of success leaves clues. And so you just follow kind of what other people are doing at a high level. The biggest thing is kind of getting out of your own head and being able to take that leap of faith and trust that you're going to be okay.
You said it very well, because there's no way we can just make all the mistakes in this lifetime. That's what I say. Life is so short. And then it's always good to learn from others' mistakes or, how they created their life and then see what best suits you. So, you seem like very motivated, very inspirational. So how do you keep this, mindset all the time? Like being so, what was the word I was looking for? Like being so impressed, like being so ambitious, like I wanted to scale, I wanted to get to that level.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's not every day that I am. There's ups and downs. There's doubt. There's things that where you get tired for sure. But I think the biggest thing is to be consistent. And so that's something that I've been very good at just in throughout my life. But there's a couple things that I would tell you is the more you surround yourself with people who are great people who have the same type of ambition, I get a lot of energy and drive off of that, right? So my partners are the same way. And when we get in a room together and we talk about the business, it's not work. It's very fun for me. And we like talking about the growth and the potential and things like that. And you start to have conversations that, man, 5 years ago, if I knew I'd be talking about buying, 50 million, $100 million properties, getting to $1 billion in assets under management, et cetera, I'd say you were crazy. But as you surround yourself with people who also talk like that, the quicker you get to that level. So I think that gives me some energy. I do things like I write down a daily affirmation that talks about what my wife's and my goals are. I read my year 1 goals and my 5-year goals on a daily basis to remind me of why I do what I do, to give me the motivation. And then my wife is, a lot of my motivation as well. And she's been a huge support and a huge factor in it as well.
So where do you see yourself 5 years from now or 10 years from now?
Yeah, 5 years from now, right now, as we're growing our company and scaling, we are trying to be more of a board of directors with a C-suite underneath us. So hopefully we have a C-suite of executives that is running our company with, call it 30, 40, 50 employees, unless we're going to bring in third-party property management in-house, which we're kind of debating. Our company is just starting to start a nonprofit arm. So I hope in 5 years that's built out and being able to give back at even a higher level. And then we also have an academy. And so the goal is to have over 1,000 students at that academy. So we're helping others and teaching others to get into the multifamily space as well. And, on a personal level, a couple of kids and living kind of in our dream home and traveling a lot.
Nice. Earlier, you said you journal and then you have your short-term goals and long-term goals that you daily look. I think visualization is very important for everybody because you see your goals daily and you gotta get there and you're doing that. Beside that, do you have any like morning routines? Like, the miracle mornings everybody talks about.
Yep. Miracle Morning changed my life. I used to do all the savers for several years. And what I found was that they were kind of draining me a little bit because I was doing things I wasn't necessarily passionate about. So I do a mix of them, but not all of them. So I do journal. I write down an affirmation. I exercise every morning before work. If I meditate, which I haven't been as consistent as I like to be, I do that in the evening time. So I split it up a little bit. But my main routine is working out in the morning, getting exercise, taking our dogs for a walk, journaling, reading my goals, and then getting to work.
Great. Wow, that's awesome. I think you had an awesome journey until now. So I just feel like it's going to be a trajectory to success. So what is the secret sauce there?
Consistency, honestly. I mean, if you're consistent, I say this on a lot of podcasts, if you're consistent, you're going to beat out 95% of your competition because it is very hard to be consistent. And I'm not talking about consistent for 30 days. I'm talking about being consistent for 5 years. We've had a newsletter, and this is a very small thing, but a great example. We've had a newsletter that goes out on the first of the month at 10 a.m. for every month for the last 4 years. Right? That's consistency. Our investors know what they're going to get. And so we really strive to be consistent on all things that we do. And it really helps. And it's not easy all the time, but if you can be consistent in everything that you do, you're going to be more successful.
Great. So share one golden nugget with my audience.
Other than being consistent, surround yourself with people who are already doing what you want to be doing. It's the quickest way to success is modeling after others and really surrounding yourself with a higher level of person.
Great. So this brings us to our rapid fire round. If you haven't heard my podcast before, I'm going to ask you 5 questions and you're going to answer in 1 sentence and 1 word only.
Okay.
And first question is, who was the most influential person in your life?
My wife.
What is the best book you have read or recommend?
Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
I love that book.
Changed my life too.
What is your biggest passion?
Real estate investing right now.
Great. In 1 word, what does life mean to you?
Passion.
What is your favorite food?
Sushi.
Good. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, if you head over to our website, www.verticalstreetventures.com, you can find out all about us, what we do, and even a little bit more about our academy.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle. I really appreciate you coming to my show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks.